Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 56 female, have one son, Michael, 28 male. He's my only child, my miracle baby after years of infertility struggles. I raised him mostly on my own after losing my husband when Michael was just 12. His father's death shattered both of us, but we became each other's entire world. I worked 2 jobs, skipped vacations, and saved every penny so I could give him stability. 2 years ago, Michael met Samantha, 26 female. At first, I tried to be welcoming. She was bubbly, beautiful, and very polished, but something about her always felt off. She was obsessed with appearances, designer bags, constant Instagram posts, expensive weekend getaways. And you might ask, where did all the money came from? Yes, you guessed it right. Michael. Still, Michael adored her, so I kept my reservations to myself. They got married last year, and while I was supportive, deep down I worried Samantha cared more about Michael's income than Michael himself. 2 weeks ago, I decided to surprise Michael with a visit. We hadn't seen each other in months, and I missed him terribly. I planned to drive 5 hours to his city, spend the weekend together, and maybe even cook his favorite childhood dinner. When I arrived at his apartment, I knocked. No answer. I called his phone. Nothing. I tried Samantha. Also nothing. Finally, I called his best friend Jacob, 29 male, thinking maybe Michael was at work or out of town. Jacob hesitated for a moment before blurting out, "He's in the ICU." My knees literally buckled. I couldn't process what he said. Jacob explained there had been a car accident a week ago. A drunk driver ran a red light, and Michael had been seriously injured. He'd been unconscious since. I screamed, "Why didn't anyone tell me?" Jacob sounded confused and very uncomfortable and said, "Samantha said she called you, but that you couldn't come because of your health issues." I froze. My so-called health issues? I don't have any. She never called me. She lied. My blood ran cold. My son was fighting for his life, and his wife told everyone she had informed me when she hadn't. I rushed straight to the hospital. When I got there, my son was sleeping, hooked up to machines, pale and frail in ways that broke me. My heart shattered seeing him like that. I sat by his bed for hours until he finally stirred. When he opened his eyes, he looked around, disoriented, and whispered, "Mom." What happened? He had no idea he'd been in an accident. Nobody had explained anything to him yet. I gently told him what Jacob had said, that he'd been in a crash and was in the ICU recovering. Michael blinked slowly, processing everything. Then he asked the question I dreaded. "Where's Samantha?" That's when I realized no one had seen her in days. I told him I didn't know. He frowned, confused. A nurse came in and casually mentioned that Samantha hadn't been there in 5 days. Michael's whole expression changed. Shock, hurt, panic. He immediately asked me to call her. I tried several times, straight to voicemail. He grabbed his phone and tried himself. No answer. Frustrated, he called Samantha's best friend, Emily. At first, she dodged his questions, stammering, clearly uncomfortable. But Michael kept pressing until finally, she broke down and confessed, "She's on vacation." Michael went dead silent. With a man. Emily admitted Samantha had been planning this luxury trip for months. First-class tickets, a 5-star resort, champagne breakfasts, spa treatments, shopping sprees, all funded by Michael's money. And the man she was with? Someone she'd been casually seeing for several weeks. I thought Michael was going to vomit. His entire body shook with anger, betrayal, heartbreak. After a long silence, he said, "Mom, block the cards. Freeze everything. Don't let her spend another cent." Michael handles all the finances in the marriage and supports Samantha fully. She doesn't work, and most accounts are in his name. I'm listed as his emergency contact and temporary financial proxy through the hospital, so I immediately called the bank. Within an hour, I froze all credit cards, joint accounts, and withdrawals. Minutes later, my phone lit up. Samantha calling. I didn't answer. Neither did Michael. She called again. And again. Over 50 missed calls in under an hour. Eventually, she left a voicemail screaming, "What the hell are you doing? You have no right to touch our accounts. I'm his wife." A few minutes later, she called again. I picked up this time. She shrieked, "You bitter old witch! You think you can control everything?" I calmly said, "Samantha, Michael asked me to freeze the accounts." Dead silence. Then she exploded. "He has no right to tell you that. He's not even in his right mind right now. You're manipulating him. That money is ours. You're interfering in my marriage." I asked her why she hadn't been at the hospital in 5 days. Her response made my blood boil. "I thought he was dying. I'm not putting my life on hold waiting around for a vegetable." I hung up. When I told Michael what she said, his face went white. He didn't cry. He just shut down. He hasn't answered any of her calls since. She's been blowing up his phone non-stop, leaving voicemails alternating between rage, fake tears, and manipulation. "Baby, it's not what you think. I needed a break. I couldn't handle the stress." "You're overreacting. You let your mother ruin our marriage." Now Samantha has escalated. She's calling me every few hours, accusing me of stealing her money, turning her husband against her, trying to destroy their marriage out of jealousy. Her mother even called me screaming, demanding I respect Samantha's rights as his legal spouse and unfreeze everything immediately. Even some of my extended family members are questioning my decision, saying I overstepped and that whatever Samantha did, it's not my place to get involved. Michael asked me to freeze the accounts. He's lucid. He's heartbroken, yes, but fully aware. He doesn't want Samantha to have access to his money. Not after finding out she used it to fund a romantic getaway while he lay unconscious in a hospital bed. And yet somehow, Samantha and her family are spinning this into me overreaching and ruining her life. Michael's recovery is slow but steady. He's stable, but he'll need months of rehabilitation and might face long-term complications. Samantha came back from her vacation 2 days ago, acting like nothing happened. She showed up at the hospital, but Michael refused to see her. She screamed at me in the hallway that I'm poisoning him against her, and threatened to sue me for financial interference. I told her calmly, "You abandoned your husband in the ICU and lied to everyone about it. If you want money, talk to your boyfriend." Part of me feels righteous. I protected my son, just like any mother would. But another part of me wonders, did I cross a legal or moral line? She is his wife. Technically, they share assets. Freezing the accounts has complicated everything. And if Michael decides to divorce her, this could make things even messier. So, Reddit, am I the asshole? OP is not in the wrong here, not even a little. OP's son is lying in the ICU fighting for his life, and his wife is sipping champagne with another man, using his money to fund it? Absolutely not. She lied about informing OP, lied about where she was, abandoned her husband when he needed her most, and is now furious because her free ride is over. The audacity is breathtaking. OP didn't meddle in their marriage. OP protected her son when he couldn't protect himself. And let's not forget, he asked OP to freeze the accounts. She has no leg to stand on here, legally or morally. Honestly, I hope Michael divorces her, changes all his passwords, and cuts her off permanently. Let her boyfriend finance her infinity pools. And now let's hear community's opinion. Not the idiot. This wasn't a break or a coping mechanism. Samantha abandoned her husband during a medical crisis and tried to bleed him dry in the process. That's unforgivable. Her saying, "I thought he was dying. I'm not putting my life on hold," is chilling. That's not love. That's opportunism. She probably assumed Michael wouldn't make it and figured she might as well have fun on his dime before moving on. You didn't interfere in anything. You carried out Michael's explicit request. She's mad because her financial safety net vanished overnight, and now she has to face the consequences of her choices. Samantha is obviously the villain here, no question. She lied, cheated, and used your son's money while abandoning him in the hospital. But freezing the accounts without consulting a lawyer first was risky, especially since she's his legal spouse. Even though Michael asked you to, This could get messy later if she claims financial abuse or manipulation. You probably saved him thousands, but get legal advice immediately to cover yourself and him. That said, her argument that she can't put her life on hold while her husband is in the ICU is sociopathic. She doesn't care about Michael. She cares about maintaining her lifestyle. Not the idiot. The absolute gall of this woman blows my mind. She lied about calling you, lied about why you weren't there, lied about where she was, lied about who she was with, used your son's money to fund her affair. My 29 male, wife's 31 female, first husband passed away 5 years ago to a hit and run. I knew them both for 4 years prior to that, since I work with her, but only became real close a year after because our company did a bonding camping thing and she taught me how to start a fire with rocks. We hung out after that, always messing around, having a few drinks after work, helping her move. I encouraged her to go to therapy after her loss, and we eventually started dating and married 2 years ago. I'm totally in love with her, and I know she is always head over heels with me. She still talks with her former in-laws every now and then, and I don't have a problem with that. They'd been together for almost a decade before her husband passed, since they were high school sweethearts, and I know they hold her near their heart. They never overstep their boundaries and still get invited to her birthday. Thing is, my wife got pregnant with twins, and when they found out, they were super happy for us. Their son was an only child, so I get that they feel like having a grandchild is something they won't ever get. They told my wife that they wanted to give us a crib and asked if it was okay. I had second thoughts because I'm no stranger to manipulation. I know that some people give things expecting to have some benefits from it, and I told my wife as much. But she said that I was exaggerating and that letting them give us something won't hurt anyone, so she said yes. First, we were going to go and get it ourselves. Then they would send it here. But after that, they told us they would deliver it themselves, since they wanted to visit my, at that time, 7 months pregnant, wife. She said yes, and we had them here for hours, telling us how we could do things, how we could decorate the nursery, and asking if they could visit her more, just to make sure she was okay. I felt like a jerk, because I could see that these people were hanging to a feeling and a situation that they wished they could have. So I let my wife make the decision. She said yes. After that, they came almost 3 or 4 days a week just to check up on her, and sometimes bossing us around on how we should do things. And my last straw was when his mother asked us to name one of our kids after her son, so my wife won't forget about him. I said no. Now that my wife has given birth, they've called me asking when they can visit, and honestly, I don't know if I want it. Having 2 babies is a lot of work, and I don't want them around telling how their kids could have been, or telling me how to do things with my children. But my mother believes I'm being an a-hole. Edit. Since people keep asking what my wife thinks about it, I'm going to leave it here. My wife wants them around the kids too, and it's not like I don't want them. I just don't want them now. When I told her my reasons, she agreed that she doesn't want them to see the twins as the potential grandchildren or the kids she could have had with their son. I know that a lot of people are fond of the extra pair of grandparents, but I'm not. And even though she loves them, she doesn't want it either. We understand that some people love the idea of extra pair of grandparents, or that having more people around is okay, but we don't. Before our kids, we used to see these people 3 or 4 times a year in birthdays or Christmas, and my wife moved on with her life. She isn't fond of the idea of having them as family figures to our kids too, even when she will allow them to be around. So no, I'm not controlling my wife, or making her cut ties with them, as some of you have stated. Was ready to call you a raging a-hole until it got to 3 to 4 times a week visits and wanting to name the baby after their deceased son. No a-hole. They're still grieving, but they're expecting too much. I could easily see their expectations getting out of hand in the future. You and your wife need to sit down and discuss what you think is appropriate and get some boundaries that everyone can deal with. Infants are supposed to not be visited if possible, because there is a double epidemic of the Delta variant and RSV right now. Buy months with that. Take your time figuring out what you are both comfortable with. Settling in with twins is enough right now. In my opinion, asking you to name one after him was way over the line of acceptable pregnancy, birth congratulations. Not the a-hole. These people need to grieve and move on. Your wife needs to be firm and tell them no. Trying to get her to name a baby after her first husband is beyond strange. The fact that they are still a huge part of her life is concerning. Don't be surprised if they want the twins to sleep over and call them Grandma and Grandpa. Nip this in the bud. The way they are acting is sending up tons of red flags. Never let them alone with those babies. My friend of over 10 years, Connor, is getting married. I don't know the bride, Lisa, that well because I don't live in the same state where they are based, and they've been together for less than a year, but she asked me to be one of the bridesmaids since I'm one of Connor's closest friends. She was nice to me the couple of times we met, so I accepted. Connor's brother hosted a dinner for the couple last weekend, and I was one of the ones who were asked to make a toast. I said that I'm glad that Lisa came into Connor's life. I recalled how, before they met, Connor told me that sometimes he wakes up at night and suddenly feels sad because he feels alone and lonely, even though things are great at work. When he met Lisa, he told me how easily he found it to talk to her, which was why he asked her out immediately. I said that just a month after they started dating, Connor told me that being with Lisa made him the happiest that he has ever been in a long time, and he really felt like she was the one. I thanked Lisa for making one of the kindest and most caring people I know happy, and wished them a long and lasting marriage. I thought my toast was fine since everyone cheered. But when I got home, I got a message from Lisa saying that she did not want to see me at the wedding. She said that I made my toast about my relationship with Connor, highlighted the fact that he tried to come on to me, and made her look like Connor is just with her so he doesn't feel lonely. She blocked me so I couldn't reply. I called Connor to explain my side. I never considered him telling me he was lonely as him trying to come on to me. And I only mentioned the loneliness thing because I wanted people to know that he used to feel lonely, despite his professional success, and having Lisa in his life made him happy. He was surprised by what I told him because he didn't know that Lisa messaged me. He said he would talk to Lisa, and they are still at odds about this issue as far as I know. I don't think I'm attending the wedding after all of this, if only to avoid causing any more tension. But I want to know, am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. That was a nice toast as you described it. I'm concerned for your friend, though, that they dated for less than a year and are getting married, and he was lonely, that she reacted this way. It doesn't sound very healthy, more codependent, desperate, and rushed, and she sounds like a nut. Everyone sucks here. Sure, she is overreacting, but the reason I am saying everyone sucks here is because highlighting someone's loneliness, regardless of the intention, in a toast at their engagement party is deeply tacky. And if I were the subject of that toast, I would have felt embarrassed and a bit miffed you'd essentially painted me as a sad sack. Again, your intention may not have been to do that, but as a third party, that's exactly how it read. Not the a-hole. Your speech actually sounds really nice, and not at all like you're trying to start anything. Lisa, on the other hand, sounds like a bit of a bunny boiling crazy person. I actually hope this highlights something to Connor that he may not have been aware of, because she sounds super jealous and a bit mad. I'm 16 female, and I live in a house with my dad, 44 male, stepmom, 36 female, and siblings, 15 male, 13 male, and 10 female. My dad and stepmom married in 2017 and have been trying to have a baby ever since. My stepmom has PCOS and struggles with infertility. Due to this, she's never had children of her own. She's done several fertility treatments and last October found out she was pregnant. I was super happy for her and my dad. She immediately started buying baby stuff after her first doctor's appointment. Then, after a few weeks, she came to me and said that I was going to have to move out of my room because she needed it for the nursery. The way my house is set up is there are 2 bedrooms upstairs and 2 bedrooms downstairs. Me and my dad and stepmom have the upstairs bedrooms, and my sister and brothers have a downstairs bedroom. My brothers share a room. She told me that she needed my room because it's across from theirs, and it was important that the baby is close to them. It surprised me because their room is really big, and when I asked why she couldn't keep the baby in their room, she got super upset and told me that she's been waiting years for this moment of being able to decorate a nursery. I ended up moving into my sister's room after that, which is the smallest room in the house, so it's a bit cramped for the 2 of us. Plus, I don't have a lot of privacy. Sadly, my stepmom lost her baby in early February, and it absolutely devastated her. I feel awful for her. My dad no longer has the money for more fertility treatments, and it will take a while to save up. So it would probably be a couple of years before she gets pregnant again. The nursery is still set up, and I haven't brought it up, and neither have my dad or stepmom. But now that a bit of time has gone by, I was considering, gently, asking to have my room back, since it's just sitting unused and will be for at least a couple more years. Would that make me an a-hole? Honestly, I feel bad for the kids they already have. They really should have moved somewhere bigger if they were wanting to add another baby to the household. Being shoved into a smaller room for 2 people is unfair. The comfort of my children that are already here would be my first priority. Not the a-hole. They have a large room which can reasonably fit a baby, bassinet, for a good amount of time. There wasn't a need to make you move into your sister's smaller room just so she could start decorating a nursery long before the baby even arrived, just because she's always wanted to decorate one. She's wanted to be a mother for so long, but she hasn't realized the first fundamental principle of being a mother, even a stepmother, is that the needs of her children come before her own wants. The baby doesn't need your room. She wanted your room to decorate. She put her own want above your need for privacy and space as a 16-year-old. So honestly, I don't think asking for it back would be wrong. But yes, you should ask for it back from your dad, because it would be kinder, and because maybe your father will understand that your need should also be taken into his consideration. Not the a-hole. Your parents want to live in a 4-bedroom house with 2 adults and 5 kids, 2 each sharing a room, with a baby that doesn't need that much space, in its own room. That's beyond irresponsible to the 4 kids they already have. She shouldn't have married into a family of 4 children if she wanted to have more and neglect the 4 she was marrying into. I am planning my wedding for next year. My fiancé and I plan to walk together. We plan to have our first dance, a parents' dance, and then open dance. My stepfather is not happy to hear that there will be no father of the bride walking down the aisle, or a father-daughter dance. I did give him and my mom a song and spot to walk to their seats together at the start of the ceremony before we enter, as well as asking for a song so they could have a dance at the same time as my fiancé's parents, as well as the typical toast all 4 will be doing. This isn't enough. He's upset because he has raised me from the time I was 8, and I'm not going out of my way to give him more of a dad role. He said my fiancé isn't related to his parents biologically, and he's probably doing more. I told him it was a different set of circumstances, and they weren't walking him down the aisle or getting a special dance either. My mom told me I should let him do something else, something a father of the bride would traditionally do, because it's hurting his feelings. She then suggested to smooth it over, I could remove the picture of my dad from the front row and maybe carry one in my locket instead. That way, he won't feel like he's being pushed out for my dad. I told her that was not going to be an option, and I would be happy to brainstorm if they wanted to do something else together. I also said there will be plenty of time to dance with anyone, everyone if they want to. We had planned a surprise with the seating arrangements and have a set of top tables where our immediate family and wedding party would sit, basically next to us. But now I'm having second thoughts, because I also wanted to have my paternal grandparents sit there, because they are very important to me. This was going to be a surprise on the day, and now I'm not so sure, because he has been known to be passive-aggressive around them and not very understanding of the fact that they are still part of my life. Plus, I don't want to subject my husband's family to the tension and drama within mine by having them so close. My stepfather told me I'm being rude and spiteful and inconsiderate of his feelings, and that I should give him a little bit of what he has given me over the years. I struggle to do more with him because ever since he married my mom, he has invalidated the fact I had a loving dad who died and didn't leave me by choice. And even after all these years, he does it because he was annoyed 2 years ago when I wouldn't go meet his new boss at a work-family dinner because I was spending time on my dad's anniversary with my grandparents, and he told me that being there for him should have been the priority over gathering for an almost 20-year anniversary. It was the 17th anniversary of my dad's death. I only add this for those who will ask for more information on our relationship. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your wedding is about you, your fiancé, and your feelings and wishes. It's not about your stepfather or your mother or anyone else. To me, it sounds like he wants and expects some kind of special spotlight on himself. Also, what kind of pathetic crap father figure gets mean because you have and love your grandparents? Wow, petty. OP, you don't need to bend to a step-parent's will. I don't care he stepped up when you were 8. If he wanted to be with your mom, you guys were a package deal. So yes, like a decent human, he didn't treat you completely like crap. Let's all applaud the bare minimum. I would have a conversation with him. If you do care about him and still want a relationship, I would sit him down and have a long-needed conversation on how you view him. I understand he may not listen, but at least you tried. You are not the a-hole for not planning any traditions. You don't have your father there, and it's hard to have those traditions when they'll remind you of who is missing. I lost my dad recently. I wouldn't plan any traditions either. I'm sorry for your loss. I know this day will be bittersweet. Not the a-hole. Your stepfather sounds like an insecure petty tyrant. It's your wedding. Do it your way, and if they don't like it, they can lose their invitations. I'll just explain this situation real quickly. My son, 23 years old, and his fiancée, 21 years old, are expecting a baby boy. Clearly, it wasn't planned. My son told me privately that he wasn't ready to be a dad, especially since he wanted to get married first, finish college, then think about kids. But his fiancée insisted on going through with her pregnancy. She too is a college student and has no income. I found myself already paying for the nursery, clothes, essential stuff the baby will need, and I was told to step in since he's my grandbaby. Plus, having to pay for her vitamins, doctor's appointments, food, etc., while my son has been focusing on studying. He kept telling me to do things on his behalf since he was busy. I honestly felt worried the baby won't get the attention and care he needed with my son's behavior. After talking to my son, he said it was okay for me to be present in the delivery room with his fiancée to welcome my grandbaby and also support her. I thought we were on good terms till she blew up on me when I brought it up to her, saying no, she doesn't want me there and wants my son instead. I was upset with how she was behaving, especially after everything I've done. I think I deserve more respect and my voice to be heard, but she kept lashing out at me when I told her I had the right and demanded to be present in the delivery room. She then went to my son and started yelling at him, calling him immature and selfish and doesn't deserve to be a dad since he wasn't interested like he's interested in his study. You're the a-hole. The person giving birth decides who is in the delivery room, period. If you do not want to contribute financially to your grandchild's life, then set some boundaries. Buying things for them does not mean you are entitled to butt into their private lives. It is not a good sign that your son agreed to let you in the delivery room. That was not his choice to make. He is very, very young to be a parent. If you want to have a good relationship with them going forward, you need to respect them and their choices. Almost feels like OP is using her financial support as leverage over her son and his girlfriend. Like, part of why she keeps enabling him is so she can have control over his choices and a bargaining chip if things don't go her way. Boundaries are a great idea here and would benefit everyone involved. You're the a-hole in so many ways. Get your nose out of their relationship while you come to terms with raising and continuing to enable a deadbeat.